This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. Emily Connelly's been with me for the week, and I'm so curious how she's bringing this week to a close.
Hi, Joe. To finish us off, I have a book that really is a great one for anybody starting the school year, like my kids are, but also feeling that, sort of shift into autumn and maybe wanting something a little bit creepy.
I don't like creepy.
This one is definitely creepy, but it is a middle grade audiobook, so manageable. But it is called Not Quite a Ghost, and it's written by Ursu and narrated by Eva Kaminsky. And it's a really excellent middle grade novel about a ghost, but also about chronic illness and, new starts and changing friendships. And I really appreciated it. I actually read it in print and then I listened to it also, which I don't do often, but I did with this one.
And how did the audiobook hold up to the text?
I really liked it too, actually. I thought Ava did a great job with Anne's writing is so, it's so thoughtful. I really enjoy listening to her audiobooks. She has another one that is a longtime favorite in our house, The Troubled Girls of Dragomir Academy. And I thought Ava did a great job
Oh,
with this
yeah.
narration. Our main character is Violet Hart. She's 11 years old and she's moving into middle school starting sixth grade and moving into a new home, a bigger home for her family. And she's definitely worried about those big changes, but not wanting to make it a big deal. She's a middle kid who sees that like her sister's a teenager going through all these big things. She has a younger brother who's a toddler, and she's trying her best to like keep everybody happy, which comes into play in the story. And for her too, her first grade year was the first year of the COVID
Mhm.
pandemic. And she has a lot of anxiety about getting sick and getting her family sick. She's always trying to take care of
We're
everybody.
starting to see COVID books.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and we have two
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
which I didn't intend, but I appreciated.
When I'm seeing new books come out, and COVID has definitely been a factor, not in a number of them, enough worth noting. But anyway, I mean, we knew this was going to happen, but it's interesting.
Yeah, and I thought this one was among the best of how I've seen it handled.
Mhm.
So Eva really conveys all these conflicting emotions so well, where Violet's in sixth grade, and that's such a hard time, especially when you have close friends and those friendships change. And then for Violet, she gets sick and she doesn't really get better. And it's not COVID, but we don't know what it is. And all these friends and the doctor she meets um, don't really believe that she's sick at all. They just, she's so tired. Things overwhelm her that didn't used to. She can't really get through a school day anymore. And so she's dealing with this illness that people, when they test her different ways, it doesn't show up as any real problem. So she's spending more and more time in her bedroom. And in this new house that she's in the attic bedroom that has very creepy wallpaper. It's yellow, it has all these tangling vines on it, all these scary flowers. And she starts to hear this voice actually when she's in her room speaking to her in this really terrifying way and discovers that there's actually kind of a ghost trapped in that wallpaper getting in her head and trying to drive her to do some really desperate things. So that's where it really takes a sharp turn into like a
And
horror
okay,
novel.
and this is for kids? Just checking.
This is
Okay.
for kids, so it's definitely kids love. I mean, some kids love exploring kind of
You would
creepy.
know far more than I yeah.
Yeah. It's for kids who are interested in this, but also, it's never over the top, but it's definitely scary. So anyway, we could hear a little bit of the sample of from the very beginning when they're arriving at the house, and I think it sets the scene nicely for Violet's family and what this house looks like.
Okay, this is Not Quite a Ghost. It's by Ursu, and it's read by Eva Kaminsky.
Everything was changing at the same time. New school, new classmates, new house. The change was not bad, necessarily. Not if you looked at it like an adventure. And if you pretended you were the sort of person who liked adventures. Almost there, said Mom. You're going to love it. I promise. There's magic in an old house, said Elliot. Of course, there's work to be done, said Mom. Some of the rooms need updating. That's part of the magic, said Elliot. Soon, the 5 of them were gathered on the sidewalk, squinting up at the 3-story structure. In the pictures on the Realtor website, the new house was a tall, thin, somewhat wobbly-looking wooden blue-gray Victorian with a spindly porch and a steep roof that seemed like it was designed for a slightly larger house. Not a cookie-cutter house, Elliot had said. This house has character. Now, though, with the sun blazing directly behind it, the house loomed above them, a tall shadow holding firm against the light.
I really like Eva's different characterizations, the way we could hear her going from mom to dad, and her narration has wonderful energy.
Yes, great energy, great different voices. And I think her narrative voice works really well for the story too, where you can kind of hear a bit of potential for danger in her narration too. And I think she handles that well as you're going between like middle school drama and maybe there's a ghost in my walls.
And it has to have some connection to The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman,
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, so at the end, the author's note, Anne explains that it was inspired by the yellow wallpaper, that story, but it's also inspired by her own experiences with invisible chronic illnesses. So you get a little bit more information about both of those aspects in the author's note.
Okay, that is Not Quite a Ghost by Anne Ursu, and it's read by Eva Kaminsky. Okay, what a week you've had, Emily.
Yeah, lots of different things to talk about, but always a pleasure to get to talk about them.
And it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I will next month. I hope you have a great one.
You too.
Thanks. Brilliance Publishing brings you the sound of storytelling and is the sponsor of today's episode of Behind the Mic. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart. Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Emily Connelly, Alan Minskoff, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dow is our editor. The music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way, and I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.